Okay, we are live and ready to go.
All right, I hereby call this meeting of the Millburn CC School District 24 Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. on November 27th. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
John Rose.
Here.
Brandon Murphy.
Here.
Peter Petrine.
Here.
Julian Pope. Here. John Ruggles.
Here.
Brad Steptoe.
Here.
And Lisa Wilson. Here.
All right, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments? All right. All right, board, do we have any addition of non-action items? No, we are knocking it out. Action items. All right, approve application for school maintenance project grant. Let's bring that up.
Okay,
So, over the past couple of months, we've been talking a little bit about the school maintenance project grant. So this is a state grant that gives you, or gives school districts up to $50,000 to put towards a school improvement plan. And as we have discussed over the past couple of board meetings, Dr. Lind and Tim Smith, the director of buildings and grounds, and I went through some ideas and brainstorming for both buildings on where best to allocate these dollars and where to apply for the grant. So where we landed was abating the rest of the asbestos in the elementary building, which is in a floor towards the front of the building here, that we lease out to CEDAW, and replacing it with the new flooring that you see right outside of the media center here. And just a little bit of financial information. We look at what our capital projects fund was at the beginning of the year to see if we're able to afford the project. So at the beginning of the year, we had $420,000, or just a little more than that, in the capital projects fund. Our past practice is to keep a buffer of around $200,000. This project is going to cost about $181,000 with the abatement and putting the new flooring in. So the ask here for the board is the first step is simply asking for permission to apply for the grant to come to the state. And that application needs to be submitted by December 4th. If you approve it tonight, I'll submit it tomorrow.
And this 181 before the 50 is negated for match.
It's an estimate of the total project. So last 50, yeah, we would spend about 130.
I move to approve the application for the school maintenance project grant.
The motion?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? No, wait, we have to call the roll. Money.
Yes. Yes.
Julian Pope. Yes. John Ruggles.
Yes.
Brad Steptoe.
Yes.
Lisa Wilson.
Yes.
And John Rose.
Yes. Approval for
Thank you.
publication in the truth and taxation statement. Or you want to say something?
no, I said thank you.
Oh.
We can get rid of the last asbestos in this building, which is wonderful. Yes, the truth and taxation, we just need a approval to advertise it. So because we are asking for more than 5% in the levy this year, and we have to capture all of the new construction, we're limited to 5%, but we're asking for more to capture the new construction because we're going to get a little tiny bit more than the 5%. We have to publish a truth and taxation statement. And if you recall Carly's presentation last time, we're asking for even more than that just to allow us to give us some more flexibility down the road. We're not going to get that much money, but we want to make sure that we get what we can at this point.
And just in addition to that, the truth in taxation also is because we're asking for 105% more than what we levied last year.
Correct.
All those are truth and taxation statement. Second.
Motion been made in second. This is not a roll call.
Nope.
That's not money. All right, all in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes. This one is. Let's talk about those buses.
Okay.
Wah, wah.
Okay, so currently we have, 4 little buses that we lease from Midwest Transit. And we also, and one of those little buses is a wheelchair bus. And then we also own a wheelchair bus. And as you recall, we've been trying for quite a while to get a newer, at least a lease on a newer wheelchair bus. We need it so that if the wheelchair bus that we use daily breaks down, we have a backup wheelchair bus. What I did, over the past few weeks was, I solicited a bid for 4 little buses and 2 wheelchair buses. The 2 wheelchair buses are bigger than the current wheelchair buses that we have right now. The current wheelchair buses we have right now hold about 18 students in a wheelchair bus. This, lease request is for a 37 passenger wheelchair bus that will hold up to 5 wheelchair spaces, and for up to 37 students. And so what that allows us to do is accommodate our growing early childhood program, and obviously any additional students that might be in a wheelchair. So, what came back from the bid was Midwest Transit. It was our low cost bidder with a total annual lease cost of $168,816 for all 6 buses. The annual lease cost for the little bus, and this is a typo, it's actually $24,373. And the annual lease cost for the wheelchair bus is $35,662 per bus. We also believe that these bigger wheelchair buses could be used to consolidate early childhood field trips. We could use it for activities where there are not so many students participating in an after-school activity, or maybe even for one of our Wadsworth routes, which do not have as many students as the benefit of Midwest Transit, they are the company we use for our 15 big buses. They do on-site maintenance, which is huge. So that's a plus. The person comes here to fix the buses. We don't have to use our drivers to bring the buses to a repair shop.
I apologize for not looking in advance. Do we get the buses at the end of the lease? Are they ours?
No.
No. Do they have a percentage rate incorporated into the lease?
For the interest on it, yes, I don't know what it is. So in this process, they just give us the dollar amount of the annual lease. So once we get the contract, then the percentage amounts are provided.
And that will not change year over year? No.
No,
And this is more than we paid last year, by
oh, yes.
a lot.
Yes. Last year's bus lease for 5 buses, because remember we own the one. So last year's, cost for the 4 little buses and 1 wheelchair bus was $95,835. Prior to that, though, just to give you a little bit of history, those exact 5 buses, we actually started the lease in 2019. It was a 4-year lease. And for those 4 years, we were paying $60,780. So between 2 years ago and last year, the lease went up $35,000.
No, it's going up another.
right?
but one more
But we're
bus.
adding a bus. And the other thing is we do
50.
get state reimbursement, typically up to 80% on the depreciation of the buses. So what I've heard across, just from other business managers, neighboring business managers is that they're seeing the same thing. The cost of buses have just gone up exponentially over the past couple of years, which is what we witnessed last year and we're continuing to see.
And you guys are confident we need another bus?
We utilize all these buses. If we, frankly, if
We could
had-
use more.
We could, if we had more drivers, we would use all of the buses even more and eliminate some cab routes that we're using, cab services that we're using. So I'm trying to get another driver as well.
Which are cab services are even more expensive.
What
Seems
kind of
like
shape is the bus in that we have, the wheelchair bus?
The current shape of the wall, it's nicknamed the dinosaur and it's very old. It needs regular repairs. In the bid request, I asked, for, trade-in amounts and only Midwest offered $1,000. We can sell that and get more for scrap, which is what we'll do. We wouldn't necessarily keep it. Again, I feel like last year we paid about $5,000 in maintenance costs. And we'll continue to see that increase as the years go on. It's high mileage as well.
Now, we talked, do you guys remember, or at least John, weren't they going to flip from diesel to gasoline engines? Wasn't that a topic we talked about?
for the big buses, yes.
But not these.
No,
Okay.
they were switching to a new engine. I can't remember which
Yeah.
direction
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
going with that, but they were switching to a new engine with the big buses, not the
Okay,
little
alright.
ones. So we're
Thank you.
fine here.
So one new one, and then the other five.
All 6 are gonna be new.
Okay, so
They're replacing our 5 current leases and our current owned one that's done.
so we would anticipate, I assume, that maintenance for the first year and be lower than it was last year. A new
Most-
buses.
Most of the maintenance is included in this. Yeah, so it's pretty much
It's not
zero.
on the one. year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's from 2009, I believe.
The whole buses would be on that.
Exactly, so with state reimbursement, school districts get up to 5 years of depreciation. After that 5th year, you no longer get depreciation reimbursement, which is why the lease is never more than 5 years. This lease is 4 years. With a little bit of wiggle room if we needed to extend the lease for a year.
Any other comments?
No? I move to approve the order of bus lease with Midwest Transit for 427 passenger yellow buses, 237 passenger yellow wheelchair buses, in the amount of $168,816.
Motion, do I have a second? All right, Madam Secretary, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Julian Phillips, yes. John Ruggles,
Yes.
Fred Stefan,
Yes.
Lisa Rooster, yes. John Lorenzo,
Yes.
and Brendan Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Consent agenda. Questions, comments, concerns?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Motion has been made. Second. Motion has been seconded. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Julian Phillips, yes. John Ruggles,
Yes.
Fred Stefan,
Yes.
Lisa Rooster, yes. John Lorenzo,
Yes.
Brendan Murphy,
Yes.
and Peter Pedretti.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Information discussion, strategic planning update.
Okay, I'd like to give a quick update on our strategic planning process. As we were all here a couple weeks ago, we started with the mission statement, so I just want to go through where we're at in the overall process, if I can get back to it. Just as a review and to keep us all on track. Give me just another second here. There we go. There we go. What is our this up there? Okay. Let's try that. So last time we were right here in this first column, the mission, why do we exist? We're going to talk about that in just a minute again. We didn't finish that up last time. But now we're moving into the visioning phase and the values phase, and those can kind of coincide together. They're two separate entities. The vision is the what do we want to become to accomplish our purpose, or another way to look at it. These are just, as you go down, just kind of synonyms or different ways of thinking about the same thing. A compelling future. How do we want our school district to look like in 10 years? How do we want our school district to look like as we look back 5 years from now? What do we want to have accomplished, or what would we like to be able to tell people about? Hey, this is what we did in the last 5 years. It gives us a direction. It gives us the what. What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? The values portion, or shared commitments, or collective commitments, or parameters. Some people use parameters. All those mean the same thing. That's how we behave to achieve our vision. So how are we going? What are the parameters that we agree to, kind of the norms as a district? What's most important to us as we look at that preferred future? How are we going to do that? How do we behave? How does that reflect? What do we value? What are our collective commitments as we move forward? If that makes sense. And then eventually we get down to the goals. So I wanted to put this kind of side by side with where we're at. So we're at the mission statement review process. So the mission statement is that overarching purpose that we're talking about. And then I put a little bit more specific as we go through what that looks like and what's going to be happening as far as our activities. So as we narrow this down into a strategic plan, again, I don't want to forget about the mission, vision, values, and eventually the goals, which would be outlined in the plan. What we want to do is get a wide swath and wide idea of what do we want our district to look like in 5 years. So I will put out a question in the next few days, week or so, maybe, to everybody with a thought exchange of what do you want our district to look like, or what do you think is the most important, something to that effect, to get people to give us an idea of what they want in general, very wide, broad picture. Then schedule focus groups to have a conversation with between 10 and 20 people, hopefully, different times. I picked different times that I'm putting on a calendar to try and capture different groups to make sure that we can include everybody in that and give people options. And that'll run from the mid to late December, right before break. And then again in January, pick that up. And then funnel some of that information down to get a little bit more specific. And then again, staff input, where we want input from our staff. The board is a part of this process. You can jump in on any part of this process as community members, but the board then is that next filter for approving it. And then it goes into a planning phase where you hand it off and say, okay, here's your big ideas. This is what we want the district to look like. Now staff we'll hand it off to you, put some teeth into this plan, make it something that's actionable. We'll approve it. And then it can go back up into, did we hit it or did we miss? Is this what we were thinking? We can do a thought exchange or focus groups and keep filtering it down through that as we go. It just has some checks and balances, if that makes any sense. Again, just putting different words in here, it's all kind of the same process. You do a SWOT analysis, which is a strengths, weaknesses. I'm blanking out. Holy cow. something in threats. SWOT, I've looked at it too many times. A SWOT analysis, that's what the focus groups, that's where we sit down for an hour and a half with a group of people and say, okay, tell us what our strengths are as a district. Where are our weaknesses, where it's opportunities. Some people use nay, some people use no. That's what threw me off. Opportunities or threats or challenges. We could use the word challenges. Say, okay, this is where we're at. It's really trying to define the gap of where we want to go and where we are at the moment. Again, the vision values, just another way to look at it. Vision values, everybody's input, gap analysis of where we're at with a focus group, then additional fine tuning with staff, again, board approval plan, and we can go back up and cycle that again as we move forward to make sure that we hit where did we capture what the community wants out of the school district, or are we off when we get into more of the specific planning?
Mission statement.
So
review.
mission statement review. So we had a session at our last meeting about the mission statement review. We had a long conversation, good conversations about what is the purpose of school? Why do we exist? What is Millburn's primary focus? We didn't land on any specific wording. We had 3 different ideas floating around and couldn't finalize it, so we brought it back tonight. In the meantime, I think the board had some time to think about it the way it sounds and came back with some thoughts. So what are your thoughts about the mission statement? We have 4 options. We could continue to try and wordsmith it to get a new mission statement tonight. We can put another group together, a smaller group, and keep meeting before the board meeting until we get something to propose. We could keep our current mission statement and vote on that at the next meeting to keep our current mission statement. And the 4th idea was something that now has escaped me. Maybe there's just 3. Just 3 at this point. Oh, that's what, keep it. That's my 4. It is confusing. Thank
It
you.
was a bit confusing, last time, so here's some comments that I have regarding the mission statement. I think we're trying to do a bit much. When we're trying to say, let's include this, let's include that, let's include this John, let's include Jillian, you hit a point where it becomes so verbose that you end up eventually excluding someone. Because then Fred's not in it and he's upset. His name's that Rachel's not in it. The audience isn't in it. So I'm of the opinion that a little bit less is kind of more. And if we look at our existing statement, some of the things we talked about, what our community might want in 5 years. Well, 5 years, my kid will just be getting out of the system. So I still want a student and or all students who are learning, an educated populace. I want teachers who do everything they can to inspire and empower students. And that's not easy. These guys know. And admin knows. Everybody knows. Teachers, they do a dance and it's very difficult. And enriching the community, I think most people assume that if you're going to change the world, which I would love all of our Millburn students to do, you probably have to start in your own house first. And then move out in bigger and bigger circles. So these are just some of my thoughts. I really like our existing mission statement, especially as compared to the things that you're trying to cobble together last time. And I felt like that. It was a lot of work, and I didn't feel like we were really getting a superior product, if you will. So that's where I stand on it, is keeping the initial one.
You got a lot of the work was here before when we were talking about this one thing. I felt the same way. I had mentioned it when we both last. Jillian had said something like, why are we changing this? Do we not like it? And I thought about that up too. So I don't wanna change it just for change's sake. That's, so I would be the same as well. That's what I said before, and I stand by that.
Side.
No, I agree. I say keep it the same or just add all. We said, all students.
There's a cost of
That's the only
changing
thing
it.
that we talked- I know, so if we open it up, I know, so we can just.
That cost though is minimal compared to the 70 grand a year we're paying for buses. Yeah, we're talking about having kids feel included because it has, we're all and diverse in that. I'd say that 10 grand for signage is more than worth it. When we're considering dropping 70 grand extra a year on buses. That's a very minimal cost, $26 million budget. And and we don't need to rewrite the whole book here, but 2 little words can mean a lot between one student feeling welcome at school and feeling like they're the outcast. Throwing those words all and diverse in there, where they would go, empowers all students and would be a culture of diverse learning, where it empowers all diverse students, enrich our diverse community, things like that. But I feel like those words can play a big role in the way we're perceived and the way children feel when they come here.
I don't think the mission statement does that really. I think the teachers in the community that built here, how it makes the student feel connected to the community, makes them feel empowered and inspired. I don't think it's the mission statement. I don't know if a lot of students even know what the mission statement is. But if we did a survey randomly ask students in the hallway, like, hey, what's the mission statement? But if I ask them, like, hey, who was your favorite teacher? Who did you sit by at lunch? Who made your day? We would get an answer immediately. So I don't know. I think the mission statement we have is powerful. I think they serve a lot of our community. But I think people really feel it when they walk into those schools and they meet our teachers and meet our teachers. They see all care that goes into it. So I know it's important, but I think the effect is here when you see it and when you see it outside in the community. I mean, even the high schools have said like that's a Millburn. Like that to me is, that's why I'm really proud because I want my kids to be that's a Millburn. So I would rather put effort into different discussions that would have more, just more just towards our students and team members and community.
We can't vote on it today.
No, we can't vote on it today. But we can get consensus on, do we want to continue to work on this or do we want to just put it on the agenda for a vote at the next meeting?
I'd like to put it on the agenda.
I think we have enough to put it on the agenda for a vote.
Okay, thank you. Calendar, my favorite topic. I love spending time on the calendar.
Do you have it? Can you put it up?
I could, yeah. So teachers and staff have weighed in all at the same, parents all at the same time this year, which is new for us. However, I did break down so in the thought exchange with the first survey question, I had teacher or staff member or parent to break it out. So I did break out the comments to see what the comments were like in with both groups, and they varied a little bit, but not significantly. And I can show you those if you'd like to. So the upshot is, starting August 19th, it's very similar calendar to this year. So the comments that I got actually from parents and staff was it's nice to stay consistent. Not everybody, again, everybody, there's it depends on what your family situation is. All for everybody. So it seems the more I'm hearing this year is teachers and parents with kids who might align with the high school want to align more with the high school calendar. And I haven't heard that as vehemently as in the past. So I think that's probably due to more of our staff with kids at the age of integrating with the high schools, perhaps. I don't know. But that would make sense. And other school districts around here are trying to. So it's nice because our teachers and staff members live in surrounding communities as well. So the closer we can align with those districts, that's better, easier for daycare, same with parents. I think the big thing that I heard was consistency.
So the 19th would be the first day of school?
19th of August would be the first day of teacher in service. 19th and 20th would be teacher in service. 21st would be the first day the kids arrive for a half a day.
Did we start on Thursday this year?
This year was Wednesday. The last 6 or 7 years has been a Thursday. The one interesting change would be that we have to have election day off next year. So that's a holiday. So in order to, we can change this too. But on Indigenous Peoples' Day, Columbus Day on the 14th of October, we can have a teacher in service, and then we can still be done and have the calendar be essentially the same as this year, be done in May, which that seemed to be a popular item. Week off at Thanksgiving, done in May.
And does this sync, or how many schools does this sync with? Like the high schools?
High school graduation for Lakes is the 17th. I don't know about the others. I haven't seen their calendars yet.
But most of them now have moved to a week off at Thanksgiving.
Not the high schools, because they
No.
have to get their semester in, so they're trying to get as many days in before winter break as
Okay.
possible. So I don't think they're gonna move to having a full week off. I don't think anytime soon because of that.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Brain melt. How do the teachers feel about this? Do they get input on this?
Yes, Yep.
Do the teachers like it?
it depends. It depends on their personal situation.
Okay, so same.
Yeah, same thing.
The thought exchange for the teachers' comments was generally positive.
But
Yeah, it was stick with the same. They like being done in May. In general.
I like that
I think.
there's a lot of full weeks.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of choppy, like, oh, come in for 2 days or off, then come back. We need
November,
Full weeks, we need as many full weeks as possible. And
November's
I like that about this.
Yeah.
And I think we were like that for this year as well, roughly.
roughly. Mhm.
Yeah, November probably is the most odd. one
Copy.
Because of the election and then conferences and stuff, but it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty consistent. So.
Motion to approve the calendar?
Oh, no, we're just discussing.
Yeah, this is discussion. We can't do that.
You get two more cracks at it. January will approve it.
So as is, if we added one more day, it would push them into June.
Correct.
But we're gonna go past Memorial Day.
Yes, correct.
So going back to the end of May, what do we do in that last week? Is it, like, if we added one day,
What?
could we not have a picnic, or is it? At the end of May, that last week, don't we have like picnics and all that? It's
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of academic work, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's a lot of learning.
That's what I- So I guess Get something to finish all those projects.
Social emotional.
Team building.
I'm saying we could even use. Have some problems, but still finish by the end of May. Unless we.
What do you mean? Oh, no, if we have a snow day, it has to go the next week because we have to get our 176 days in.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah,
then
we're,
it would-
that's a state
Okay,
mandate, so
so there's certain circumstances that could push in the June.
Absolutely.
What we do.
correct. So these next 5 days, the first 5 days in June here, this next week would be emergency days. So if we had a snow day, we will go that next weekend.
Okay.
But this also incentivizes us not to take snow days,
Okay.
which I hate.
Yeah.
You do like
I don't know if anybody knew that.
remote learning or whatever. we did. Well, whatever,
Never again.
whatever they called it at the time.
Looks good.
Right, it's gonna be a mild winter, no more snow. Okay, so no major changes. We'll continue if there's anything that comes up. Of course, we have time to adjust and discuss. House lease extension is next. So, we lease, I think I've mentioned this to the board before, but if I have not, we lease the house next door that we own, Millburn owns by the Millburn Garden on would be the west side of the building. We own 7 acres and that includes a house and a garage there, actually 2 garages. We lease that to a staff member who then in lieu of rent does weekend building checks for us. So it's a win-win for us and for them. What we've done is established a rhythm of every 4 or 5 years, we do a lottery to see if somebody else opens it up. And every year we approve it in 1 year increments to ask the family if they would like to stay there. In this case, it's Anna Bibian. She would like to stay there another year and continue on with the lease, and she does our building checks and she does a great job with it. So it saves us custodial overtime we used to pay to come in and check, open up the buildings on Saturday morning and close them on Saturday night, and again on Sunday morning and Sunday night. It's a good idea to go around, make sure there's no flooding, make sure there's no pipe burst, which has happened, and she is caught in time in the past, which has been great, which is why we do the building checks and to turn the alarm off so those teachers can get in and work on the weekends.
Is it just this building? Or just-
Both. She does both. Yep. So that'll be on the next board agenda. I just wanted to give you a heads up before we went to the next agenda in a couple weeks. Because we only have 1 meeting in December, so we don't have our typical rhythm of committee of the whole meeting and regular meeting. So this is kind of a both and meeting.
You may have said it, Jason, but how, like, what's the duration of this person, the staff members stay? Like it's a lottery, like they get, what, like 4 years, they get to stay there and then then they draw again.
Yes, we have it written up somewhere. I believe it's every 5 years we would do
Okay,
a lottery.
thank you.
Lottery pick. She's happened to win 2 lottery picks in a row.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's very lucky.
What year is this in the 5?
I think it's year 2 or
year 2.
it's either this is year 2 or next year would be year 3, I think. 4 or 5. And then we'd be up for lottery, but I'll double check that.
Property tax.
So again, we talked about the property tax levy. The next meeting, there will be a hearing. We'll have our truth and taxation hearing. We will invite any public to make comments about the levy, and then we will vote to approve the levy. Again, there's some good news with the taxes this year. We are abating taxes again because we applied for and received the property tax relief grant last year. So we abated taxes last year. we abate taxes again this year, and the bond payment is gone, so that's the bond payment was 26-ish% of everybody's tax bill to Millburn, so that's a big chunk. So we should feel some relief this year if we live in the district, which is great.
And that will show up what month?
The bill comes out in April. FOIAs are just there for your enjoyment because we have to post them by law, so there it is. All right, we have 2 future agenda items. We'll have one memorandum of understanding to be approved and the levy to be approved, as I just mentioned. And some other items I'm sure that will come up by then. Mission statement will be on there. Hit that down again. That's it.
Superintendent report.
Well, we were off last week, so it feels like I just saw you guys and now we're back. So nothing new to report other than we started up school again, and December has some concerts to go to and a lot of basketball tournaments at the middle school, and wrestling should be starting up here pretty soon. So it's a busy month. Lots of good things going on.
Business office reports.
Just two more quick things. Annual statement of affairs. This is something that school districts are legally required to submit to ISB, as well as posting the legal ads. So this is just basically what it says, or what it sounds like. It's just an annual statement. It will be up for fiscal year 23. It will include assets and liabilities, revenues and expenditures, salary payments, payments to vendors. That
Board report. Anyone do anything? It's the last meeting.
One of the sessions I was in was having student voice on board, and they have a lot of suggestions on how to bring a student member on board, which I thought was really cool. We could explore. You know, they had a couple of suggestions which I thought were important. First of all, you don't just go to interview, so you're choosing a student who's mature enough to handle the responsibility. And you run like a term, like a 7th and 8th grader, because the first year the kids usually sit and watch, you know, say it again, until they figure out what's going on. And then the second year is and so like the 7th and 8th graders together. And you need a one person in the middle school who kind of helps them understand the issues and those part of the and I mean, it's a great way of giving student voice to the board and show them how this works, and also reminds us why we I thought it was a great thing, and we could tell the story and talk about it.
I echo that. So I went to one that was on community engagement, because we're always talking about getting everyone in the community involved, not just people who have kids here. And that was one of their main points. So thanks for bringing that up. I mean, that was really pretty interesting. A lot of the other points they had, we do, but they had things like getting together community leaders, talk to the police chief, the mayor, business owners, etc. I think we've talked about that. They referred to groups that had specific focuses as publics. which is kind of funny because Publix is a grocery store on the floor. Parents just look. It talks about reaching out to them, to specific interest groups in the community and having relationships with them. Making our comments, making our discussions about building community deliberate, having an external focus. There's a lot of buzzwords. I did speak with a superintendent who said he had sent out a physical survey to every single address in the district. Now, I don't know what that would cost, but I just thought that was interesting because it is, you're actually reaching everybody. I mean, whether they throw it out or not, it's a different story. But somebody gets a survey, hey, we're the school, this is our thing, this is what we do, we educate people, blah, blah. I don't know, something to think about. One of the other things they brought up, and this is kind of contrary to some of the things we have talked about. The woman who was doing it, she was from 214, she said, maybe each one of us adopts one of the schools. Now there's only 2 schools here. And we can, pop in and just surprise these guys when it's fun. Make sure that's all going really well. So I love your expression. The other thing that she talked about was being present on all of these things that I think some of us are not so keen on or don't want to be on, but like on social media and in the community, and having an individual voice as board members, but remembering that it's reflective of our board voice. So she kind of had some double talk going on, which I was like, I'm not so sure about this because you certainly want unity, but it was interesting. We can talk about that more later. But yeah, reaching out, having a Facebook page, answering, engaging with people, things of this nature. That's on you guys. I'm not on that. No thanks. The other one that I thought was really cool was the state has come up or is about to release a Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan. Probably the end of January, it should get passed in the House. I don't see why it wouldn't. Something they've been working on forever. And it's not just this big rubber stamp thing that says, hey, here you go. Everybody teach this way. Everybody be a robot. It's the opposite of that. It actually meets districts where they are. So we have a specific community. Highland Park has a specific community. Woodstock has a specific community. And the learning needs to take place within those communities. So what they've come up with is this sort of grand plan / schema that kind of helps train teachers. It helps boards meet with local control and with ISB. And it's more of like this super resource for literacy. And it's not just like, oh, hey, I'll teach you how to read this piece of cake, right? It's a bunch of other resources that they've used. And I don't know, out of all these sessions, I was just very impressed with this one. So keep a lookout. It's supposed to be the end of January for the Illinois literacy plan. That's all I got.
Ms. Wooster, how was the delegate session?
It was a really cool experience. It was, I didn't really expect it to go the way it did because there's basically these super delegates, I forget what they're really called, but they get to decide what future legislation that we want to push to the legislature. So I thought we were gonna vote on like 10 things and we only ended up voting on 2 things, but it was neat to see how it all works.
Kind of touching on Peter talking about staying connected with the local officials. I don't know if anyone heard. The mayor of Wadsworth passed away last week, Glenn Ryback. His pass was this morning. I don't know if we want to send a card or something to next year.
Yeah, thanks.
I have something unrelated to the conference in Chicago. Maybe now that I'm in the second year of middle school and I'm going to more sporting events, I gotta take off my shoes to count the number of people who now, and maybe they can know on the board now, come up to me and talk about the cost of athletics at Millburn compared to other schools. So, maybe we do a thought exchange on it. I promised some that I would bring it up. I know I brought it up to you before. If it's something we wanna talk about as a group, or if we wanna get community input. That's the thing I get more, and maybe it's because I'm in a lot of the sporting events now, and people think, okay, I'll just grab them.
So the fees we talk about in January, February for next year. So every year those fees get discussed with the entire board and then you approve those
Right.
fees. So that will be coming up on the agenda. And athletics is included.
A lot of people chirping in my ear.
Yeah, tell them to come January. All right. Anyone else? No? All right. We will have a closed session,
Yes.
so I read first. All right, I am looking for a motion to go into closed session for item number 1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this Act 5 ILCS 120-2C1 and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 ILCS 120-2C2.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call.
It's gotta be roll call.
Roll call. Madam Secretary.
John Lorenzen.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Peter Petroni.
Yes.
Julian Phelps. Yes. John Ruggles.
Yes.
Fred Stepson.
Yes.
And Lisa Brewster. Yes.
Okay, and we will not be having any discussion afterwards or taking any action, so I will cut off the Zoom for tonight.